Eli Carter had always lived quietly on the edge of Red Willow Valley, where the land stretched wide and the people rarely came. He was a shy man by nature, more comfortable tending his crops at dawn than speaking in the crowded town square. His barn, old and leaning but strong at the core, stood behind his farmhouse like a loyal companion. It was there that Eli spent most evenings, mending tools or brushing his horses, while the world beyond his fields faded into silence. One night, as a cold wind rolled across the valley and clouds swallowed the moon, Eli heard something that made him pause. It was not the howl of a coyote or the creak of wood in the wind, but a soft, broken sound, almost a breath struggling to stay alive. Lantern in hand, he followed the noise to the far side of the barn, where the shadows lay thick. There, collapsed against the wall, was a young Apache woman. Her clothes were torn, her skin marked with blood and dust, yet her dark eyes remained fierce, watching him carefully even as her strength failed. Fear rushed through Eli's chest. Everyone in the valley knew the stories, of raids, of revenge, of hatred passed down like inheritance. He knew he should turn away, alert the town, or ride for help. But as the woman swayed and nearly fell again, instinct overcame fear. He set down the lantern, lifted her gently, and carried her into the barn, hiding her in the hayloft where no one would think to look. For the next several days, Eli lived between fear and resolve. He brought her water and food in silence, cleaned her wounds with trembling hands, and used old remedies his mother had once taught him. The woman spoke little, and Eli spoke less, yet something deeper than words grew between them. She watched him with curiosity, perhaps wondering why this quiet farmer had chosen mercy over safety. When she was strong enough to stand, she told him her name was Nalin. Before dawn one morning, while Eli slept from exhaustion, she was gone. No farewell, no explanation, only a small beaded cord left behind in the hay. Eli held it in his palm, unsure whether what had happened was a dream or a turning point he did not yet understand. The weeks after Nalin's disappearance passed slowly, each day blending into the next as Eli returned to his fields and routines. Yet nothing felt the same. Every time the wind moved through the hay or a shadow shifted in the barn, he found himself looking up, half expecting to see her watching him from the loft. He kept the small beaded cord in his pocket, rubbing it between his fingers when the nights grew too quiet. Though he told himself she had simply returned to her people, a sense of unease followed him like a second shadow. One dry afternoon, as the sun burned low and red over the valley, Eli noticed a long trail of dust rising on the horizon. At first he thought it was cattle from a neighboring ranch, but the movement was too steady, too deliberate. His heart began to pound as shapes emerged from the haze. Horses, riders, many of them. By the time they reached his land, Apache men and women surrounded the farmhouse and barn, their presence calm but commanding. Eli stepped out onto the dirt yard, hands empty, knowing there was no point in hiding now. Then he saw her. Nalin rode forward from the group, sitting tall and strong in the saddle, her wounds healed and her posture proud. She looked nothing like the woman he had found broken in the mud. For a moment, Eli could not breathe. Fear tightened his chest, and he braced himself for anger or accusation. Instead, Nalin dismounted and spoke to her people, her voice clear and confident. She told them how a quiet farmer had found her wounded, how he had hidden her from danger, fed her, and asked for nothing in return. The elders listened closely, their eyes never leaving Eli. One older man, clearly a leader, stepped forward and studied him in silence. Eli felt every flaw laid bare, his nervous hands, his simple clothes, his uncertain stance. Finally, the elder nodded slowly, acknowledging the truth of his daughter's words. Through a translator, the man spoke of honor and debt. Among their people, kindness given without demand carried great weight. Nalin then turned to Eli and met his eyes. There was gratitude there, but also something deeper, something that unsettled him even more than fear. She explained that her people had not come to punish him. They had come to honor him and to ask a question that followed their traditions. They were asking whether Eli Carter, the shy farmer of Red Willow Valley, would accept a bond far greater than he had ever imagined. The night after the Apache riders arrived, Eli slept little. He lay awake in his small farmhouse, staring at the wooden beams above him while the question echoed through his mind. All his life, his world had been measured in rows of crops, the turn of seasons, and the quiet comfort of being alone. Now, in a single day, that world had widened beyond anything he had imagined. Outside, the Apache campfires glowed softly in the distance, their presence both unsettling and strangely reassuring. Before dawn, Eli rose and walked through his fields, the dew cold against his boots. He tried to picture a future without the land, without the barn that had sheltered him and once sheltered Nalin. Yet he also remembered her steady gaze, the trust she had placed in him when she was at her weakest. For the first time, he understood that his shyness had not protected him from life. It had only kept him from stepping fully into it. As the sun climbed, Eli made his way toward the Apache camp. The riders watched him approach, their expressions guarded but respectful. Nalin stood near her father, calm and composed. Though her eyes softened when she saw him, Eli stopped a few steps away, his voice quiet but firm as he spoke. He did not try to match their eloquence or customs with grand words. He simply said that he was a man of the land, loyal to what he cared for, and that he would not turn away from someone who had trusted him with her life. A long silence followed. Then the elders nodded, accepting his answer. Nalin's father placed a hand over his heart in a gesture of respect, and the tension that had hung over the valley seemed to ease. What followed was not a celebration filled with noise, but a solemn promise witnessed by both people and land. Eli was not asked to abandon who he was, nor was Nalin asked to forget her roots. Instead, they agreed to walk forward together, learning each other's ways. In the months that followed, the farm became a place of meeting rather than isolation. Nalin learned the rhythms of planting and harvest, while Eli listened to stories carried by firelight and stars. Their bond grew slowly, built on patience and shared silence. The barn, once a hiding place born of fear, stood as a quiet reminder that one act of compassion could change not just two lives, but the meaning of an entire valley.